did you guys chuckle when I said, hey, we're going to do a book study this year? Because not everybody gets excited about a book study, right? So I'm just curious, how has the book study gone? What feedback do you have from the book study?
Well, I love book studies, so I'm probably not the one to ask that question. And the 40X, I had read the prior edition, so I was super, super excited about that. I think where I went, was the double book study.
Yes.
And at first, a little bit overwhelmed. I didn't laugh about it. I was excited about it. Then I stressed about it. Then I learned more.
There you go.
And now I feel really, really very grateful that we went through that process together.
Hello, my name is Marc Smith. I am the proud and very honored superintendent in Fort Bend ISD, and this is my podcast, SuperIntentional. The purpose of the podcast is to be able to showcase all the great things that are going on in Fort Bend ISD. I'm so excited about the guests that I'll have. The guests will range from students to staff members to community members to parents, all of those people who are vital stakeholders to our school district. Today, I'm so excited to have one of the best leaders in our district. Her name is Beth Martinez. She's a deputy superintendent in the district. And actually, we have a connection from my first time in Fort Bend ISD. And so, Beth, is glad to have you on the podcast.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Absolutely. So can you just kind of recap just your history here in the district? Because I think it's so important for our audience to know the experience and the history and the wisdom that you bring, and actually is so very helpful to me as I've gotten started here in my tenure as superintendent.
Sure. Thank you. It started in kindergarten. I'm a kindergarten through 12th grade graduate of the district. And then I started my teaching back in 1992 at Mission Bend Elementary. I was a third grade teacher, and then I taught fourth grade. And then I moved into administration at the campus level, and I was assistant principal and principal at Dulles Elementary. And then I moved over into central office around the early 2000s, 2006, and I've worked in professional development. I've worked in human resources. I've worked in the academic side of the house as chief academic officer, and then moved into the role as deputy and now deputy chief of staff. And This is starting my 33rd year in the district as an employee.
So you've seen a lot. So how has all of those different roles that you've served in the district helped you in your current role as deputy superintendent?
Well, quite a bit. It's really helped me to make connections, not only with people, but with the processes and the work, and to see how things connect and maybe are disconnected at times and where those gaps may be. Sometimes I feel like jack of all trades, master of none, because of the experiences in a variety of different roles. But truly, as in the deputy superintendent chief of staff role, it really helps me, I believe, to be able to support people in other roles and other departments, to help you as we work with the Board of Trustees and work with the community on cross-functional topics.
Yeah. So, change is a regular part of life, whether it's in our personal life or in our work life. And so we're at a stage where I'm new, coming in as superintendent. And so we talk about how most effective leaders, they understand how to manage change, how to work through change, and get good outcomes. I'm curious, just for our audience, because we all deal with change, how are you managing the change? What insight do you have for us, for me, for our audience in terms of leadership change management?
Great question. It's funny because I've had people through the years say, oh, you must not like change. You've been there your whole life. And it's quite the opposite. I enjoy change. I thrive on change. If you look back at that employment progression, every 3 to 5 years I'm doing something different. I've been called the historian. I don't know how I feel about that.
Yeah, very valuable.
Also don't want to be, painted into a corner of just trying to do what we've always done. Because, again, I embrace change. We need change. We need change in education. We need change in Fort Bend ISD. We need to stay with a continuous improvement mindset and be seeking how do we need to grow and how do we need to change to best meet the needs of our students. Mm-hmm. And so I will embrace historian if it is to make sure that we don't step in potholes that we've been in before and try to make those connections for moving forward. Yeah. That I enjoy.
So in addition to managing change, I think about the size and the scope of our district. You've helped me to process that in my transition. You think about the 6th largest district in Texas, 83 plus schools, principals to work with. And so in addition to change, communication is so vital to the work that we do. I'm wondering from a leadership perspective, what are your thoughts about how to best streamline communication in such a large school system?
It's quite a challenge. I do believe that communication starts with active listening and then intentionality in delivering the message. And with that, and you've spoken to this, not making assumptions. I work really hard to not assume somebody knows something or assume that my message is clear, and think about that in a very reflective way of ensuring that I have clarity in what I'm working to communicate, and that I assume there is no background knowledge or that it is confusing. And so really looking at things from that perspective and trying to make sure that I'm providing the information, not making assumptions that I'm clear, or that the person that I'm talking with or the group that I'm talking with knows or has experience with what I'm saying. And so coming from that perspective, first listening and listening actively, and then being intentional with my words and not making assumptions on the background or the understanding or even the state of mind of the person receiving the message.
Right. So did you guys chuckle when I said, hey, we're going to do a book study this year? Because not everybody gets excited about a book study, right? And so our book study was on the 4 disciplines of execution, because we were wanting to, get a tool, a book that could help us to really dive deep into what it means to execute. So I'm just curious, how has the book study gone? What feedback do you have from the book study?
Well, I love book studies, so I'm probably not the one to ask that question. And the 40X, I had read the prior edition, so I was super, super excited about that. I think where I went, was the double book study.
Yes.
And at first a little bit overwhelmed by the similarities, but also the differences. And I wanted to, I think about things kind of globally, but then I go real quick to details and what does this need to look like and how do we need to apply this work? And so working to make sense of that long before the official book study started. So I made it a little bit difficult, honestly, on myself. Yeah. I didn't laugh about it. I was excited about it. Then I stressed about it. Well, then I learned more.
There you go.
And now I feel really, really very grateful that we went through that process together.
Well, leadership is a journey, and we are on this journey together to learn, to grow, to make our district better, to make ourselves better as leaders. I appreciate you and your leadership. You said so many things today that for anyone that's striving to be a leader, I think they're valuable takeaways. So thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
This is my podcast, Super Intentional, where we are intentional about the work of building leaders and sharing the good news in Fort Bend ISD. This is one of my favorite parts of the podcast, where I get an opportunity to answer questions from our students from across the district. So this first question comes from Kennedy, who attends Missouri City Middle School. And Kennedy says, I know having to manage and keep up with changes from our schools may be a lot of work. It also might not be the easiest, which leads me to wonder, what was your biggest motivation to become a superintendent? Well, for me, Kennedy, I always go back to my why. And part of my why is, I have this desire to coach others to greatness. So I want people around me to be great. It probably comes back from my younger days playing sports. I've always been a part of a team. I've always been a part of playing sports gave me this drive and this purpose to make things better and to do it with a group of people. So that always gave me a lot of energy. So when I got into education, it was just natural for me to be able to work with others, find out what the goal is that we needed to do, pull the people together and make it happen. To a large extent, that's what I get to do as a superintendent. I get to work with people from all across the community, whether it's students, whether it's parents, whether it's school board members or staff. And we're all trying to work together to find that common goal that will improve our school district. And so that gives me a lot of motivation, a lot of happiness, and a lot of enjoyment. Yes, it's a lot of work. It's not easy, but I love the work and I love the outcome of getting better. So the next question comes from Philip. Philip is a student at Ferguson Elementary. And Philip says, Dr. Smith, I really love the bow tie look. I would like to know how many bow ties you have and what has been the wackiest bow tie you've ever received. Wow. So Philip, how many bow ties do I have? I know I have to have hundreds of bow ties. I mean, literally hundreds of bow ties. I don't think I've worn the same one over since I've been here in Fort Bend ISD, and that's been 8 months now. So I probably have too many bow ties. I need to kind of give some away, but I really do. I love bow ties. I think they are, they're fun to wear. And so it helps me to kind of have that uniqueness about myself that I bring to the day-to-day work of being a superintendent. The wackiest bow tie that I ever received, well, actually, it was a bow tie that I received when I got here. It's a bow tie, and it had a lot of deep, bright red colors in it. And so you would really see me coming if I wore that bow tie. It's almost like it glows in the night. So it was pretty cool. I haven't worn that yet. Still trying to find what I need to match that up with. I'll figure it out, and you'll recognize it when you see me in it, because I'll definitely stand out. So Mariah from Travis High School, this is our last question. She asked, if you could only eat foods that were the same color for the rest of your life, that's key, for the rest of your life, what color would you pick the food to be? So in thinking about that, I think I'd have to pick the color green. And so there are a lot of healthy foods that are green. You can eat green apples, you can eat broccoli, which I absolutely love. And then green is healthy. But also when you think about the color green, green brings a sense of happiness and fruitfulness and fulfillment. And so if I have to eat the same thing the rest of my life, might as well be happy doing it. And so green would be the color that I choose. So I had so much fun answering the questions from our students today. You did a great job of sending me some really good questions. I look forward to the next series of questions on the next episode of our podcast, SuperIntentional. My next guest that I have, so happy to meet this young lady. When I tell you she knocks it out the park, she does. So I got to set this up the right way. So I have a group. It's a student advisory group. And it's a group of students, student leaders all across the district. So I'm in my first meeting, and I'm getting a chance to meet everyone. And Natalia stands out, but she stands out for a reason. You'll see this in a moment. When you talk about a quiet confidence, when you talk about someone that exudes leadership, I picked that up right away as I was walking around looking at the groups. So I am so excited, Natalia, to have you here on the podcast today as we talk about leadership and we talk about things that are important for you as a student. And actually, you serve such a purpose for me, a key purpose for me in understanding what the student experience is like in Fort Bend ISD. And I need to have that, and only students can really give that to me in the rich, relevant way that I need it. So I'm excited that you are here today. How are you, and welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Dr. Smith, for inviting me today. I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Natalia Camelo, and I am the lead Student Voices representative for Clements High School, and I'm proud to be a member of the class of 2025. And honestly, the opportunities that Fort Bend ISD has given me as a leader have been fundamental to my growth, both academically and in my personal life. And I'm very grateful to be a representative in this program.
So let's talk about Student Voices.
Yes.
So for me as a superintendent, it is so critical that I have my own time with students, that I learn how we're doing as a school district, I'm doing as a leader, and that I get the feedback from like what the student experience is like. So I know it's really early, we've had maybe, 2-3 meetings or so, but are there some early takeaways and some things that you would share with us in terms of the benefit that you're seeing being a part of Student Voices?
Absolutely. And Dr. Smith, I know you set 3 main goals for our program, those being leadership development, advocacy, and stakeholder engagement. And I truly believe those are the opportunities that we've received thus far. As far as leadership development, we have started a book study. It's called the Student Leadership Challenge, and it's been amazing to engage our ambassadors from all across the district in leadership learning. As far as advocacy goes, Dr. Smith has done an amazing job of choosing real student representatives to attend events with him and to be in the community's eye as support. And lastly, with stakeholder engagement, we've had the opportunity to hear from amazing people, including Cambril Marshall, former news anchor in our community.
Yes. So leadership development, that's the first thing that we focused on. And really, Natalia, it's something that we are focused on in the entire district. So when you think about you think about the next steps in your journey, you think about the kind of leader that you want to be. Are there any insights or takeaways that you have for us in the audience of just how you're applying what we're talking about and what that means for your next steps on your leadership journey?
That is a great question. I believe it boils down to Fort Bend's motto of inspiring, equipping, and imagining. And every day that I go into a Voices meeting as well as walk the halls of Clements High School, I understand that I'm a representative of the people that have come before me and the people who have invested in my education as a leader. This year we've talked a lot about PAC, and as someone who aspires to go into having a higher education and a master's degree and get my law degree eventually, those 3 pillars of professionalism, accountability, and communication are what I strive to exemplify.
That is so awesome. I was going to ask you about what's next. So law, that is
Yes,
what
sir.
you're thinking? Okay, well, I hope I don't know what kind of law you're going to practice. I hope I don't ever need, but it's good to know that you have these dreams and aspirations. So tell me about what kind of law you're thinking about, if you know already.
I'm looking primarily as law as a tool for public service.
Okay.
And so at the moment, I've done a lot for criminal justice is what I've been doing internships and different research in. But I'm most passionate about a form of law that will seek to serve others and improve the world around me.
So when you think about leadership development and all the skills that you're learning, you think about the work that we're doing centered around working with others, the work that we're doing centered around serving as an advocate. Those are all fundamental principles that you're going to need to grow and develop so that you can be the best at what you want to do in your future and have a positive impact on your community. You're already having a positive impact on your circle of influence. So your circle of influence are the people that are around you right now.
Yes, sir.
I've watched you, and I watch how you impact those that are working around you. How do you see yourself as a leader right now at Clements High School?
The way that I see myself as a leader, there's been a lot of acronyms today, but I'll say one more. We have what we like to call the Ranger Pride.
The Ranger Pride.
starts-
What is the Ranger Pride?
P stands for punctuality.
Okay.
R for respect, I for integrity, D for determination, and E for engagement. And those are the Ranger Pride
All
bracelets.
right, I
Miss
like
Baker
that.
proudly hands them out to students. But most important of those 5 attributes, I truly believe, is integrity. You are the person you are when no one is watching. And I believe that is the sort of leader that Fort Bend ISD aspires to have. And my responsibility, not just as a Voices ambassador or as a Clements student, but as a human being, is to make sure I do everything with love and with respect, no matter who it is or who is present.
So, Natalia, leadership is hard. And you as a young lady with all that you are juggling, high expectations to do well in school, high expectations to make your parents proud and your loved ones proud, and high expectations for yourself, young people deal with a lot of stressors today. How do you manage all of that and still stay focused on what your goals are and still producing each and every day?
That is a great question, Dr. Smith. In today's day and age, with the influence of social media as well as a constant bombardment of comparison and the thought process of instant gratification in wanting to showcase what we're doing and how we're doing it at all times, it creates a very unrealistic environment for a lot of students. At Clements High School, we have struggled with a spirit of competitiveness that is not conducive to harmony or to school spirit. I will say this year's Student Voices Summit theme, scheduled for January 2025, our theme is the power of influence. And
That's
truly,
right.
the most important thing we can do to separate ourselves from unhealthy comparisons and expectations is to be confident in our own abilities and to set limits to what we allow to enter, like you were saying, our sphere of influence and the people that we surround ourselves with.
Yeah, that is so awesome because the distractions are real.
Absolutely.
All of us in leadership roles have to deal with those distractions, and how we manage those distractions really determine the outcome.
Yes,
And
sir.
so it is so good to hear you already thinking about how you manage that on a day-to-day basis.
And you make a great comment, sir, when you talk about the difference between an emotional response and an analytical response. We spoke about this at our last Voices meeting.
We
and
did.
understanding how to process emotions and to feel the way you're feeling in circumstances, but not allow it to interfere with the quality and the execution of your work is so important.
So for our audience, you can see why we are in good hands in Fort Bend ISD and why the future is in good hands, because these are the kind of leaders that we are producing. Already has a real good foundation in understanding leadership principles, and you're applying those each and every day. And it's motivating for me. I know it's motivating for our audience, and it's motivating for everyone that's within your circle of influence. So I would encourage you to continue to stay the course. I am looking forward to us continuing our work together with the student voices and the experiences that you're going to have. I know you're always going to keep me in check. You're always going to tell me what I need to hear, not just what I want to hear.
Very important.
But that's what a good leader does, and I need that and appreciate that.
Thank you,
So
Dr.
it's
Smith.
just been an honor to work with you. It's been an honor to have you on the show today. Again, audience, you can see why we are in such good hands in Fort Bend ISD. It's been an honor to have my first kickoff in my podcast. The podcast is called SuperIntentional, because we are intentional about everything that we do. We're intentional about the guests that you heard today. They provided such powerful insight on what it takes to be a leader and what it takes to be successful. So I'm looking forward to the next time that we come together. In the meantime, stay focused and work on the pack. Thank you.
Did you enjoy today's episode of SuperIntentional? Stay tuned every month for a new episode as we continue to discuss the important topics in Fort Bend ISD. You can find the SuperIntentional podcast on Spotify, Apple Music, and YouTube. And for all things Fort Bend ISD, make sure to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and X. Thanks for tuning in to SuperIntentional with Dr. Marc Smith.